You have crossed the threshold. The air smells of fresh paint, damp earth, and a faint hint of disinfectant. You have entered the United States Army, but there is a subtle detail, almost imperceptible, that soon becomes an overwhelming reality. No one notices your existence. You are a ghost in uniform. You have no insignia, no recognition, and within the vast and rigid military hierarchy, you are practically invisible. You are not a soldier. You are a resource, a body occupying space, a number on a list. This is not an administrative mistake. It is completely intentional. Welcome to the lowest rank in the Army, Private E1. Your days, which seem cut from the same gray template, begin at 500 hours with the traumatically shrill sound of a metal bell that does not announce a new day, but the repetition of a ritual. After physical exercises designed to break your individual resistance in order to fuse you into an obedient mass, comes obsessive cleaning, a constant polishing of a world determined to get dirty again. In the dining hall, the silence around you is more eloquent than any insult. Higher-ranking soldiers talk, laugh, complain, but their gazes pass through you without registering you. You are furniture that walks. Why this forced anonymity? The answer is the foundation of the entire structure, to strip you of your civilian identity. Your individuality, your habits, your fears, your personal ambitions are burdens the system cannot afford. You must become a blank page upon which the soldier's manual will be written. Obedience at this stage is not born from understanding, but from the absence of alternatives. And then something apparently hopeful happens. After 6 months, without ceremony, without a handshake, you are promoted to Private Second Class, E2. But there is a fundamental problem that poisons this achievement. It is not for merit, not for demonstrated skill, and not even because someone has finally noticed your existence. It happens simply because the system dictates it. It is a bureaucratic promotion, an automatic adjustment in the database of your life. And worse still, this new rank changes almost nothing. You still follow orders, still make no decisions, and still are not truly important. The invisibility becomes slightly less dense, but you are still transparent. The question then looms over you. If no one is really evaluating you, how do you keep advancing? Can you climb in the darkness? The answer arrives once again by decree. About a year later, the system does its job again and turns you into Private First Class, E3. The title sounds better, more solid. However, the reality is bleak. You still lead no one. This is the third step, and although you now have more experience, your essential job remains the same. Execute orders and refine your skills. It is here that the path begins to subtly branch. Not everyone reaches this rank in the same way. If you entered as a blank slate, the promotion is automatic. But if you possessed prior background, military training in programs like ROTC, or even a 4-year university degree, you could have started directly at this level, skipping total invisibility. The Army, although it seems like a homogenizing machine, also seeks and values preparation, a hint that the mind can be as important as physical strength. Even so, you still lack real authority. You are a link, not a gear, that moves others. To gain that, you must climb one more step. The next rank is where monotony begins to crack. Specialist, E4. Here things get interesting. Technically, you are still not a non-commissioned officer, but you are no longer a simple executor. You begin to lead in an informal but tangible way. Lower-ranking soldiers. You are expected to be an expert in your area, someone who knows the intricacies of your specialty. You might be in charge of preparing a squad for a night patrol exercise in unknown terrain, or supervising the maintenance of an armored vehicle, ensuring that no detail escapes scrutiny and puts lives at risk. But there is a peculiarity that defines this rank. Specialists share the same pay grade as a corporal, E4, but lack non-commissioned officer status. It is a perfect embodiment of a dilemma. You may have more technical knowledge and experience than a corporal, but without the formal authority to make consequential decisions. It is the power of knowledge versus the power of position. Many talented soldiers become stuck in this limbo, comfortable in their expertise, but reluctant to take the leap that forces them to stop being technicians and become leaders. And this is the first great turning point in a military career. The choice between the technical path and the leadership path. If you choose leadership, the next step is Corporal, E4. This is one of the oldest and most fundamental ranks in the Army, established in 1775. If the Army were a human body, corporals would be the backbone. Without them, the structure collapses. From this point on, your world turns upside down. You no longer only receive orders, you now interpret them, translate them into action, and train others to execute them. You are the foreman of discipline, the guarantor that standards are not just words in a regulation. Reaching this point implies having served at least 26 months, completing the basic leadership course course, and most importantly, receiving approval from your commanding officer. Time alone is no longer enough. Potential is required. If you demonstrate it, promotion can be accelerated. From here on, the path narrows. Being a good soldier is no longer enough. Now, you must be a good leader. Your mistakes no longer cost only you. They affect the men and women under your command. If you manage to overcome this test, you can be promoted to Sergeant E5. Here, the rules of the game change completely. This rank marks the crucial transition from a junior non-commissioned officer to a true leader with substantial responsibility. To reach it, you need at least 36 months of service, completion of the advanced leadership course, and to stand out in marksmanship, physical condition, and above all, performance evaluations that now scrutinize your ability to manage people. There is a surprising fact that breaks the linear path. You can be promoted to sergeant without having been a corporal first. If you shine with exceptional leadership ability, the Army can skip you directly to this level, recognizing an innate command talent. But do not get too excited. Competition becomes brutal. Promotions stop being automatic. Only the best, the most resilient, and the most astute move forward. As you rise, the weight of responsibility grows, and the number of soldiers who depend on your decisions multiplies. We then arrive at Staff Sergeant E6, and this is where the nature of power begins to mutate. Until now, the Army has trained you to obey, to follow orders, and to fulfill your duty with excellence. But from this point on, blind obedience is no longer the currency of advancement. Power begins to move in the shadows, in hallways, in private conversations. It is no longer enough to be the best soldier or the most disciplined. To be promoted, you need allies. You need influence. Recommendations from command are not obtained only with effort. They are negotiated, built through loyalties, and often owed. This is the level where many idealistic soldiers see their careers stalled. You have the power to manage entire teams, supervise valuable resources, and decide the professional fate of lower-ranking soldiers. Imagine the scene. You are at a remote base. A supply convoy is delayed for hours and loses communication. The commanding officer is overwhelmed. Soldiers wait anxiously. Medical supplies could be at risk. You are the staff sergeant on the ground. Do you act and organize a search team on your own, assuming the risk, or do you wait for formal orders, playing it safe but risking
lives? This choice, made in seconds, can mark the difference between a promotion or an abrupt end to your career. Promotion to Sergeant First Class E7 places you on another plane. You are no longer just a supervisor. With 15 to 18 years of service behind you, you become the unshakable pillar of the platoon. You supervise multiple staff sergeants and serve as the vital bridge, the organic connection between the troops and the officers. If a captain wants a mission accomplished, you are the mechanism that ensures it truly happens, translating strategy into tangible tactics. But here politics infiltrates every decision. You are the judge of your people, the soldier who arrived late to formation for the third time. Is he going through devastating personal problems, or is he simply undisciplined? Do you punish him harshly as an example, or give him a second chance that could save his career? Your judgment is law, and this judgment must navigate between loyalty to your subordinates and the sometimes blind demands of the chain of command. A commander will ask you for results, but will not tell you how to achieve them. If a base in hostile territory needs more security, you may increase patrols, redistribute scarce resources, or even apply strategic pressure to receive more personnel. The decision is yours, and if you make the wrong one, you could be sending your people straight into an ambush. The Master Sergeant E8 leaves direct action behind. Now your field of play is entire battalions. You advise commanders and manage the operational structure at a level that borders on the strategic. There is an inherent irony in this rank. You may have 20 years of combat experience and still formally receive orders from a lieutenant fresh out of the academy with half your time in service. But make no mistake, in practice, that young officer will do 9 times out of 10 exactly what you, with your accumulated experience, suggest. This is the point where military bureaucracy becomes a double-edged sword. Some master sergeants use it as a shield to protect their soldiers from bad decisions. Others use it to advance their own interests or those of their allies. Some learn to manipulate evaluations, promote their protégés, and subtly destroy the careers of those they consider rivals. If you do not learn the unwritten rules of this game, your advancement will stop here forever. Then comes the first sergeant, E9, a position that only 1% of enlisted soldiers ever reach. Here, power becomes ruthlessly personal. You no longer just supervise logistics or discipline. Now you control the fate of every soldier under your command with an authority that is almost paternal and at the
same time intimidating. If someone commits a serious mistake, you decide whether it is a correctable lapse or the abrupt end of their career. If an internal conflict arises that threatens to divide the unit, you are the supreme mediator. If a soldier with extraordinary
potential needs an opportunity to shine, you are the one who puts their name on the promotion list. Here, meritocracy becomes clouded. It is no longer only about your experience or performance, but about who supports you, whom you have helped in the past, and essentially who is indebted to you. Because the next ranks are not achieved only through hard work. They are achieved with a network of power woven with threads of loyalty and favors. The Sergeant Major, E9, no longer focuses on small units. Now you operate at the strategic level, in headquarters where the maps of wars are drawn. Imagine a large-scale operation in the Pacific. Fuel supply for a fleet is at risk, and logistics become chaotic. A high-ranking general looks for a solution on his screen, but the one who truly understands the operational structure on the ground, the bottlenecks, and the improvised solutions is you. A miscalculation here can cause an entire unit to become isolated, or a base to run out of critical supplies for days. And if you do not see it coming, it is likely that no one else in their ivory tower will. And above all of them, at the peak of the enlisted pyramid, stands a single individual, the Sergeant Major of the Army. This is not just a rank, it is a unique position, a symbol. There is only one in the entire United States Army. He is the personal advisor to the Chief of Staff, the only enlisted voice that reaches directly the ears of the absolute top command. This is a post loaded with immense power, but also existential risks. If you hold it, your face becomes known, your words are recorded and analyzed, and your decisions can become historic or disastrous. Although technically still within the enlisted scale, his protocol privileges stand above those of a lieutenant general. In the most critical meetings, his opinion, based on the reality of the troops, may carry more weight than that of an officer with 3 stars on the uniform. It is the ultimate expression that real power does not always reside in the most pompous title, but in the influence that is exercised. Right after this summit, a new world opens up, a hybrid and often misunderstood territory, the Warrant Officers. The Warrant Officer 1, WO1, is not a traditional commissioned officer, but neither is he an enlisted soldier. He is a hybrid, a technical specialist elevated to a unique status. They are selected from among the best of the enlisted ranks, but time in service is not enough. To enter here, you must submit a formal application, obtain powerful recommendations from your commanders, and be personally approved by the Secretary of the Army. Here, what matters is not only your combat experience, but who is willing to back your potential. Because at this level, you begin to decide not only how orders are executed, but who has the technical authority to give them. The Chief Warrant Officer 2, CW2, is no longer an apprentice. He is an expert with real authority. He no longer only advises. His decisions can change the outcome of a mission. Imagine an intelligence operation. A battalion prepares for an incursion, but the satellite communication system fails. The commander, a career officer, does not know whether to proceed or abort. The Chief Warrant Officer 2, a signals specialist, is the only one in the room who understands the depth of the problem. His word, "It's safe" or "It's a trap," will halt or launch the operation. He does not give direct orders, but his knowledge defines which orders are given. His influence is subtle but absolute. The Chief Warrant Officer 3, CW3, operates at another level, supervising multiple teams across a broad theater of operations. In a critical convoy, the commander has the authority, but the CW3 is the one who decides how the mission is executed at the technical level. He can reroute paths, change protocols, or suspend movements based on his expertise, and no one will question his technical judgment because his knowledge surpasses, by definition, that of the commissioned officers he advises. The Chief Warrant Officer 4, CW4, transcends tactics and moves into strategy. He no longer deals with a battalion, but with divisions and corps. He is an architect. Imagine a new enemy drone causing havoc. The generals debate, but the CW4 is the one who develops the new combat doctrine to counter it. His work is to shape the future of the Army in his field. And at the top of this technical structure stands the rarest ghost, the Chief Warrant Officer 5, CW5. There are so few that they are legends in strategic circles. These officers do not advise. They shape the institution itself. When a general needs to modernize a fleet or integrate artificial intelligence, he does not call a colonel. He calls a CW5. He is the archetype of power, based purely on knowledge. But even here there is a ceiling, because after the warrant officers stretches the vast empire of the commissioned officers, the world of the
Commissioned officer is a parallel universe where leadership is born from a presidential commission and a military academic education. It begins with the second lieutenant, 01, the greenest officer, who is given command of a platoon. It is a brutal trial by fire. He must lead soldiers and non-commissioned officers who often have twice his real-world experience. If he does not earn their respect quickly, he will become a decorative figure, a puppet whose platoon is actually run by an experienced sergeant. The first lieutenant, 02, has survived that initial test. He still leads a platoon, but now with the confidence of his superiors. In an ambush, he is the one who decides the tactical response in seconds. It is the point where learning becomes application, where academy theory collides with the mud of reality. The captain, 03, is a qualitative leap. Now you no longer lead a platoon, but a company of up to 150 soldiers. Your responsibility is no longer only tactical, but also political and logistical. You are the conductor of an orchestra whose instruments are rifles, mortars, and human hearts. If two of your lieutenants clash, it is your job to mediate before the unit fractures. If the battalion does not assign enough resources, you are the one who must fight for them in command meetings. The captain is the crucible where leaders are forged or destroyed. The major, 04, leaves direct troop command and immerses himself in planning levels. He is a staff officer, a mission designer. Imagine the deployment of a battalion. The major is the one who designs positioning, required resources, and the sequence of the offensive. His power is indirect but deep. The orders he writes will determine the fate of hundreds of men he may never see. The lieutenant colonel, 05, carries absolute responsibility, command of a battalion. You are the final authority for every life, every decision, every success, and every failure. If an operation goes wrong, your name appears on the report. If morale falls, your leadership must raise it. Here, orders no longer affect only a company. They affect the course of a battle. The colonel, 06, is the last step before entering the Olympus of generals. He commands a brigade of up to 5,000 soldiers. He is an architect of war. His job is to read the physical and human terrain, understand local politics, and anticipate threats. A reading error can result in a deadly ambush, a correct one in a decisive victory. If he succeeds, the doors to general rank open, and it is here that power is transfigured. The brigadier general, 07, the first star, no longer leads only soldiers. He leads war itself. He commands combat brigades and joint task forces. In a scenario like Afghanistan, his decision to attack, withdraw, or flank can mean the difference between victory and slaughter. His orders, given from a room full of screens, change the destiny of thousands in the field. The Major General, 08, with 2 stars, commands an entire division, a self-sufficient force of around 14,000 soldiers. In a conventional war, they are the ones who lead the great battles. Every decision is reviewed at the highest level. Hesitation can cost hundreds of lives. Acting on wrong information can lead to catastrophe. The Lieutenant General, 09, with 3 stars, transcends battles and commands entire wars. At the head of a corps or a central command like CENTCOM, he oversees operations that span continents, deciding the movement of an aircraft carrier, authorizing a retaliatory strike, or extracting personnel from an embassy under siege are routine decisions. He does not execute war. He choreographs it on a global scale. The General, 010, with 4 stars, becomes a living legend. His decisions affect the global balance of power. He sits in the White House Situation Room, a crisis in the South China Sea, a North Korean missile, a coup in Africa. Everything passes through his analysis. When a 4-star general speaks, the world's civilian leaders listen. And above all, in the most critical moments of the nation's history, there has existed the General of the Army, 010, 5 stars. Only 9 men have held it. It is a rank activated only in times of total war, when the survival of the Republic is at stake. There is no bureaucracy that limits him, no debate that slows him. The General of the Army takes absolute control. Douglas MacArthur, Dwight D. Eisenhower, George Marshall, men whose wills shaped the 20th century. If one reaches this pinnacle, one is no longer a soldier, not even just a leader. One becomes the very embodiment of a nation's will to victory. This journey, from the absolute invisibility of the private to the almost mythological figure of the General of the Army, is more than a ladder of ranks. It is a brutal metaphor for the transformation of the human being within a system that seeks, above all, efficiency and order. It is a reminder that power is not only what shines on shoulder boards and decorations, but also what is exercised in the whisper of an experienced sergeant, in the technical judgment of a warrant officer, and in the silent loyalty earned in the mud of the trenches. It is a complex ecosystem ecosystem where obedience, meritocracy, politics, and knowledge wage a constant battle, and where every man and woman, from the invisible ghost to the five-star commander, is an essential piece in the vast and terrible mechanism of defense.